Hi everyone and welcome to Flipping Heck Business, Flip Learning for AQA A-Level Business Studies. Now in today's video we're going to be looking at the Boston Matrix. So this is part of Unit 3.3, Decision Making to Improve Marketing Performance, and this is video 8C. So first of all, what are we looking at? So we're looking at product portfolio analysis. Now this is basically where a company would actually create a portfolio of products and then assess its position within the market, within the firm itself, and then come up with a strategy for each of those products. Now this basically helps to build brand names and can allow business to infiltrate new markets and build loyalty from new customers. So Cherry Coke is an example. I mean, like here we've got Heinz, where they've got, traditionally we've got beans, but of course then they branched out. They had like sweet chili beans. They also did like baby food, and they do their own types of relish as well. And of course then you've got tomato sauce and everything as well. So each of these products are in different markets, but they're all like from the same company. So this is a way of them maximizing profit. It's a way of like making sure that they hit a lot more of their target market. So what is the Boston Matrix? Now, basically, Boston Matrix, it's a way of a firm analyzing their portfolio, their collection of products. So they would decide that, well, the portfolio itself, like we said before, is a collection of businesses or products that make up a business. Now, the products are categorized as, so we've got question marks. Now, these are also known as problem children, right? So you can see one or the other. Just remember that they are actually the same thing. Then we've got stars, we've got cash cows, and then finally we've got dogs. So the ideal is that firms should have like a kind of balanced portfolio. So they should have like a few products in each kind of category. Right, and then it can be applied to the portfolio of products produced by a firm or portfolio of businesses owned by a firm. So it can apply not just to like single products, it can apply to like full businesses. So if you look at some companies that like Unilever, who, yes, they have like a lot of products that they produce, but then they have companies like Bold and other washing like detergent companies within themselves, and they're all run individually. Right, so it can apply to businesses owned by an umbrella corporation. So when we actually draw the Boston Matrix, then this is one of the methods that you can actually do. So here you can see that we've got like low relative market share going up to high relative market share. So this is like how much of your like overall market your company actually has, usually done as a percentage. So you can actually look at it and go, right, okay, so how much percentage does that particular product own of a particular like industry or a particular market? And then going up, we've got low market growth going to high market growth. So again, are you in an industry that is in a growth phase of itself? I mean, like, are you in a so for example, mobile phones are very much in a growth industry at the moment, whereas like products such as like veg might be in a sort of slow growth, like there's no real growth because people are still eating the same amounts. Right, and here you can see I've sort of put a visual in so that you can see that we've got high high growth rate but low market share would be a question mark, because of course then it's in high growth, so there's potential there for it, but has it got enough actual sort of oomph behind it to push it forward into a star? Then we've got low growth rate, low market share, which is your dogs, where you'd be kind of maybe looking at getting that out of the market if it's not making you enough money. Then you've got cash cows. So these are high market share in a low growth market. So in other words, like you own most of that market and you are the one, you're making quite a lot of money from it. And then finally we've got stars, which are high market share with high market growth, and these ones have a lot more of potential to be making you money in a business. So if we were to look at this and combine it with the product life cycle, Now, the product lifecycle is mainly concerned with individual products and is concerned with sales over time, whereas the Boston Matrix is concerned with the firm's portfolio of products, not just one, and it focuses on cash flow from the product as well. So it's looking at how much money it's actually bringing in. Now, if you actually can combine the two, and if you look here, we've got the question marks, or the problem children, would be kind of in the introduction stage. There's still a lot of potential for it, but maybe it's not there yet. Then our stars would be the growth. So they're getting a high percentage of the market share in a high growth rate. They're making a lot of money. They're in like huge growth there. Then we've kind of got the maturity stage would be your cash cows. So you're kind of making the most amount of money that you can do. There aren't a lot of new sales to find, but you have a high percentage of the share of the overall industry. So therefore you are actually getting the money for it. And then in decline would be your dogs. So you would be looking at like products where the sales maybe are starting to peter off. You maybe need to start thinking about like extension like programs with them as well. So again, going back to the axis itself, then you've got relative market share, which goes along the bottom. So expressed not as percentage, but share in relation to other firms in the market. And it's a measure of a firm's or product's strength in the market. It can be maybe you're looking at it, you can look at like your actual percentages as well, I suppose. But like really, it's just sort of gauging overall, well, how much share does it really have? And then it's going against market growth. So percentage rate of growth of sales in the market. Is it a growth market? Is it like petering off? Is it in decline? Usually a measure of the market attractiveness. And from this, we can have a look at the other 4 cells as a means of analyzing the actual product. So question mark or problem children products. So these are low percentage market share in a high growth market. So there could be that the cash flow is negative. It could still be negative. It's not necessarily going to be, but you're not getting a huge amount of money from it. They have potential, but the future is a little bit uncertain. So again, like we're kind of thinking, well, are we going to be able to like get more out of this? So it could become a star or it could become a dog. It could go either way. Most products start off as problem child. So they will start down there at the bottom, and again, even stars and cash cows, they do actually start that way. It's very difficult for you to like just suddenly go, right, well, I've got a product that's going to instantly get all of this like market share. And so if the market grows, then the product can as well. Right now, the strategy for them would be to invest to increase the market share. So you're looking to try and get more market share. You haven't got enough at the minute. How are you going to do that? So it could be substantial investment to achieve growth at the expense of powerful competitors, right? So you might have to just try and take them on. It could actually be that you've like charged less for a product, like just so that you can get more people buying it. And you would invest in promotion and other like marketing aspects, right? So you're looking to just build selectively. You need to try and get this product and push it as hard as you can. So next one to look at is star products. Now these are high percentage market share in a high growth market. So in other words, you have the sort of position of leadership. You are the main business, or you are the main product in a growing market. So it could be strong. The business might be relatively strong and the market's growing. They may increase sales, but due to the market growing, they need to spend on promotion because the market is growing. You might be getting a lot of sales at the minute, but you need to maintain those sales and that percentage share. So your net cash inflow might be neutral or modestly positive. So you might not be making a huge amount of money on this. Like in the short term, the expenditure can exceed profit because you're putting that much into your promotion or you're putting that much into your actual like development of the product. Now, the strategy for stars is that you've got to maintain that growth. You've got to try and build those sales or that market share, right? You've got to try and take on your competitors and keep them at bay. So in other words, you're investing to maintain or increase your leadership position, and you're trying to repel challenges from competitors. So they bring something new out, you bring something new out. They make a development, you make a development, right? If they lower their prices, you're going to have to look at your prices as well. What extra are you actually offering people? And the next one is the cash cow. Now, this is kind of what a lot of companies are trying to find. So this is a high percentage market share in a low growth market. So in other words, you have the high percentage share, right? And there aren't really a lot of new sales to be taken out there, but it doesn't really matter because you've got the market. So this is usually the sort of mature stage in the product life cycle. So you are the dominant character, you are the dominant industry, that product, you are the dominant business, right? You tend to have a large positive cash inflow, right? Because you're not having to like maybe actually support yourself. You're not trying to like advertise yourself as much, right? And the low growth rate, of course, of the industry will deter competition. Like, why would you want to go into an industry that's dominated by one particular brand when you're not going to be able to maybe get as many sales out of it? And the reason we call it a cash cow is because you can milk a cash cow to support other products. You can just keep getting the money out of it so that you can support everything else that your business is doing. Now, the strategy for cash cows, these tend to be like defend that market share. Don't lose what you've already got. A lot more concentrating on short-term profit. Like there's not really a huge amount of need for investment, very little potential for further growth. And you might reduce investment in order to maximize short-term cash flow and profit. So in other words, why am I actually advertising this when I know that people are still going to buy it, right? And then use profits from cash cows to invest in new products so that they can eventually, those problem children could become cash cows or stars themselves. Now, the final one are dog products. So a lot of people like, yeah, some people will look at these and go, well, you know, if it's dog product, we should just get rid of it. But a dog product are low share in a slow growth market. Now, these tend to be like products that have either failed or in the life cycle, they are kind of in the decline phase, right? Now, they're not going anywhere. There's no real potential, but there is still like money to be actually made from them. Just because they've got a low market share in a low growth industry doesn't mean that you just get rid. Now, they could be withdrawn in during recession, but again, if we look at like Cadbury's Whole Nut, for example, has a 1% share, right, in the chocolate industry. So 1%, it's nothing really, but it is still making 3 million profit per year. The chocolate industry is not a growth industry, it's a decline industry, if anything, now that people are trying to be more healthy. But 1%, you know, it's such a big industry, 1% is still 3 million in profit per year. I'm like, that's a fantastic figure. Now, the strategy for dogs usually is to sell out or sell off or like phase it out, right? So divest it. Not really worth investing a lot of money in. And then any profit made has to be reinvested just to maintain its market share. So usually it's like kind of just trying to pay for itself. It can use up a lot more management time and resources than can be justified. Divest or at most focus on defendable niche. So if it is a niche product, then maybe you could still like keep that money flow coming in. Or again, if the industry is big enough and even if it's got a small share, it can still like actually be a profitable product. So the actual value of the Boston Matrix. So here you can see where it's actually been drawn slightly different. So please get used to seeing it as one or the other. So here we've got low to high business growth rate, then high to low market share rate. So you might see it like this as well. In which case, don't forget that that can change where your positions are. So like we've got star at the top left, cash cow bottom left, question mark or problem child top right, dog bottom right. So it's a useful tool for analyzing product portfolio decisions, but it is only a snapshot of the current position. So it's only looking at what you are looking at now. So it's not really got a lot of very good predictive value, but it is just sort of handy for going, right, okay, so where are we at the moment? And then go, right, okay, so what could we actually do for each of these products? And it focuses on market share and market growth. It ignores issues such as developing a sustainable competitive advantage. So, you know, you might be actually investing in just trying to keep a product with its head above water or just trying to take on competitors. And it doesn't really focus on like, you know, well, what are you doing already? What is currently happening with your product? So again, all businesses want to have cash cows and stars, but these are not always viable in some markets. So in markets such as vegetable supply, most businesses operate on a small scale, right? And 10% would be classed as a high market share. Now, a lot of vegetables are sold in the UK, right? And if you had 10%, that would be considered, that's absolutely amazing. But there are so many businesses that, there should be, just having 1% is a good amount because it's such a big market. Whereas in the mobile phone industry, then 10% would be considered actually quite a low market share. I mean, like companies like Apple, Huawei, Samsung, they've all got much bigger market shares than just 10%. They would not be considered to be competitive. But then again, there's only like a much smaller selection of companies that are actually selling mobile phones. So obviously to just have 10%, well, that could just be a standard. That would be actually considered low compared to the big competitors. So ultimately, the number and size of competitors will have a large impact on the success of a product. So if you're talking about the Boston Matrix, you need to think about how big is the market, how many competitors are there. So in conclusion, market share may be a reflection of how long a business has been in the market, and it could also be a reflection of the size of the business. Customer base and loyalty may overcome weak product positions in the Boston Matrix. So if you've got a lot of loyalty, if you've got a product like that, doesn't do as well this time round, well, if you are a particular brand that people trust, you still could do well. So for example, Vodafone has predominantly stars and cash cows, but it still also lost 14 billion in 1 year. So then we've got the Boston Matrix is just a generalized model. Dogs can be profitable, right? So don't always assume that it's just to be something that should be gotten rid of. That would be that would be some of your evaluation work. However, it depends on how much profit a dog is actually bringing into the market. And then Boston Matrix is a guide and alone provide little evaluation of a product. It's just a tool to be used and to just simplify everything. Right, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and video number 9 will follow very, very shortly.